Seeing it's 2 p.m., I'd like to call the July 2nd, 2025 Board of Adjustment meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Board Member Sonart,
Here.
Naxted,
Here.
Askin,
Here.
Dothit,
Here.
Kasena,
Here.
Daniel,
Here.
Chair Gabriel.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next up, we have the approval of minutes, which will be February 5th, 2025 Board of Adjustment meeting. Board Member Naxted.
Thank you, President. I move for approval of the February 5th, 2025 Board of Adjustment meeting and request unanimous consent.
I'll second.
Is there any proposed changes, revisions to the minutes from the February 5th, 2025 Board of Adjustment meeting? Seeing none, unanimous consent was requested. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the February 5th, 2025 Board of Adjustment meeting minutes are approved. And that'll bring us to an opening statement here. So this sort of outlines the process of this hearing today. This Board of Adjustment hearing will be conducted in compliance with City of Kenai Code, reasonable regulations of the board, and other applicable laws. The Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial board. The hearing is public, is being recorded, and being live streamed to the city's YouTube channel. All persons presenting evidence and testimony shall do so under oath administered by the city clerk. This hearing will be conducted less formally with regard to rules of evidence and other court rules of procedure than in a judicial courtroom. This hearing before the board is de novo. The board will review both the facts and law presented during the hearing and submitted timely. New tangible evidence not timely submitted to the city clerk will normally not be admitted. All evidence considered in this matter should be in the record before the board is previously provided to the parties. The appellant or party applying to the board has the burden of proof to show entitlement to relief. Members of the public may have 5 minutes each to address the board prior to the beginning of the party's presentation. Each party will be allowed 30 minutes to present its case. During the party's presentation of the case, the parties may call witnesses. Cross-examination will not be allowed during the party's presentation of the case. Any witness that testifies during the presentation of the case by either party, unless excused by the board with concurrence of the parties, must remain available to be called during rebuttal, at which time cross-examination may occur. Each party will be allowed 10 minutes for rebuttal. Any requested revisions to this agenda or procedures by a party must be made to the board and approved by the board immediately following the conclusion of this statement. Upon recognition by the chair, board members may question the parties and their witnesses. Questioning by the board may take place at any time during the hearing is closed. Anytime before the hearing is closed. Questioning by the board and responsive answers will not count against the party's time. The board requires a quorum of 4 and a majority of the quorum to make a decision. The board must issue a written decision within 30 days of the hearing date explaining its decision. The decision will indicate how each board member voted. The board may reverse, remand, or affirm wholly or in part, or may modify the order requirement. Decision or determination is ought to be made, and to that end shall have the powers of the body from whom the appeal is taken. The board may undertake deliberations immediately upon the conclusion of the hearing or appeal, or may take the matter under advisement and meet at such other time as is convenient for deliberations until a decision is rendered. Any questions about my opening statement from either party?
Mr. Byrd, can you hear everything fine?
Can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah,
we can.
I can. Okay, I can hear you guys. Perfect. Thank you.
And at this time, I would ask if there was any revisions to the process or requested.
None at this time.
Okay, very good. With that, we'll move to a disclosure from our board member, Mr. Naxted. Mr. Naxted, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Gabriel. I just need to disclose that the appellant, Adam Dugan, has been a client of mine in the past and actually maybe in the future. I did not go back and calculate, but I would say that our relationship monetarily has been less than 1% of my business. And frankly, I've never met him. and it's just been a phone call and all that. So it's a bit of a relationship there, I suppose, but I don't feel that I have a conflict of interest in any way monetarily or in this, what we're discussing here, and I feel that I could be impartial. So I'll leave that to the president.
Very good, thank you for that. And after consultation with our attorney and with the minimal amount of financial input to your business, and I find that you will be able to participate with this, in this Board of Adjustment hearing. With that, we'll go to swearing in of all persons providing testimony.
Would all persons that are going to provide evidence or testimony to the board please stand and raise your right hand? And Mr. Byrd, since we can't see you, okay. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give in the case now before this board to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Oh, can we have, who's online, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Byrd, could you please clarify your full name and your status in this case for the record?
Yeah, my name is Jeremy Byrd. I'm the president of Cornerstone Developments of Alaska, LLC.
Very good, thank you. So at this time, we'll go to public comment. Is there anybody from the members of the public who'd like to address the Board of Adjustment at this time? If you would just please come forward and give your, and we have a place for you. Would you rather have them at this podium over here? And yes. And please give your name and address for the record, please. You'll have to hit the little button there to turn the mic on. There you go.
Hello. Thank you for hearing me. My name is Michael Ursioli. I live on 1004 3rd Street, Kenai, Alaska. Been there for 10 years, and we bought the house from a local fisherman who now lives in Peterson Bay. My concern is wiser people than me made the previous zoning laws. So I've tried to be a good neighbor. Mr. Marion up the road's a good neighbor. Your wife is a good neighbor. She pulled me out of the ditch when I high-centered a few years ago. That's the kind of people you want around you. People that look out for you, that are considerate of laws and rules. Currently, it's illegal to put a self-storage unit there, so we want to change the laws. Why don't we just obey the laws and find an appropriate place to put it? The city has an abundance of land, and if you like the idea of having one of these in the city, make it. But make it where it's legal and appropriate and a good neighbor. In commercial property, that's where the rest of them are. I understand there's churches and schools and CARAs, senior care place in the neighborhood, but it's not appropriate to the area, though you could make it legal. That doesn't make it right. And so I don't think anybody who owns a home would want that as your neighbor. You would like something similar to what you've got, maybe even a little nicer to raise the property value if you're concerned about that, which isn't a prime concern of ours. But just the peace of the area's prime concern. And once it's in, there's no guarantee of what's going to happen, and it's against the law for a reason. And so I would like you to be an Alaskan and look out for your fellow Alaskan. If it's good business to have one, great, let's make one. Make one that's maybe a little bigger, where you could actually put, because they're just at the end of readout, they made a self-storage for boats and RVs, no outdoor contained storage. So how about right next to that, or something similar? Doesn't have to be far away. I understand the lot's inexpensive as commercial property goes. Hey, this is a good deal. Maybe we can get this in here, but it's not right, and it's currently not legal. So I stand by the people who went before me and wrote those rules, and I am willing to live by them, and I hope you are too. Thank you.
Would you mind taking questions, Mr. Ursley?
Oh, not at
And
all.
and just for clarification, what was your address again?
1004 3rd Street.
100,
3rd Street,
it was just 100.
4 3rd Street.
3rd Street.
I used to own the lots on Redoubt, right, between 3rd and 4th, and I sold them one to, I think it's Ben Shaw or Snow. He's going to put a house with a cabin in it. I specified who I was selling it to, so I would ensure the integrity of the neighborhood. I'm sure you know Brent McDonald of Braveheart Inspecting. He's not happy about it going in there either. So he was concerned about property values more than me. I just didn't want it as a neighbor. So,
Okay, very good. Before I open up to questions from the board members, there's 6 elements that sort of, decisions on 6 elements for conditional use permits that sort of drive the decision one way or the other. Do you want to speak to any of those elements?
no,
Okay.
I think I addressed my reasons, and I think they're reasonable, and they're currently legal, and so,
Very good. Any questions of Mr. Ursley?
Ursioli.
Ursioli, okay, Ursioli, sorry. Member next.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, and I think you might be the only one from the public that's here today. And so don't have so much of a question, but you used the term illegal a number of times. And I'm not an attorney, but the code, and we do have an attorney here that may be able to speak to legalities or whatnot, but wanted to say that there's a conditional use process that is part of our code, which is part of the legality of it. So whether a conditional use for this or something else becomes, is approved is not a matter of doing something illegal. It's actually a process of our legal process. So I know that may be different than how you're thinking right now, but it's how the process is. If we were to go, yeah, this is fine, it's not, we didn't do something illegal. If we said it's not, we didn't do something illegal as well.
When I asked for the city to plow 3rd Street, they said we can't because it's against code, because it's not a made-to-code road. Now, they could have done it. They could have had a meeting and made a little appropriate statement, and we could have had help with the road. But Marion's been back there for 30 years, maintaining the road himself, even though it's in the city, even though he pays taxes. So I understand the word structure, but right now he can't do it. And you want to make it so he can.
Sorry, any other questions of Mr. Ursioli? Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else from the general public that'd like to address the Board of Adjustment at this time? There's nobody online and nobody else in chambers. We'll move to staff report. We'll have our planning and zoning director, Mr. Buettner, deliver that, please.
Thank you, Chairman Graybill. Apologize. For the board, it is on page 34 of your packet if you do want to follow along on anything that I'm going over. So day of the staff report was April 14th, 2025, surrounding resolution PZ 2025-17, which was for a conditional use permit for a mini storage facility. The applicant was requesting to develop and operate an indoor heated mini storage facility with approximately 82 units. Staff recommendation was to adopt resolution PZ 2025-17, approving a conditional use permit to develop and operate a mini storage facility at 1001 3rd Street in the Urban Residential Zoning District. The applicant was Cornerstone Developments of Alaska LLC, with our local representative, Mr. Adam Tugin. Legal description was in Momsen subdivision replat edition number 1 and 2, lot 12, block 6, edition number 1, also known as 1001 3rd Street, or KPB parcel number 039-12318. Lot size was 28,314 square feet, or approximately 0.65 acres. Zoning was urban residential, current use is a vacant lot, and the land use plan is suburban residential. So the summary was that the applicant was requesting to develop and operate the indoor heated mini storage facility with approximately 82 units at 1001 3rd Street, located at the intersection of Redoubt Avenue and 3rd Street. A conditional use permit is required to operate a mini storage facility in the urban residential zoning district. Pursuant to KMC 14.20.120A, the intent of a conditional use permit is to allow some uses that may be compatible with the designated principal uses in specific zoning districts, provided certain conditions are met. Prior to granting a conditional use permit, the commission, in this case the Planning and Zoning Commission, shall determine that the identified criteria as outlined in KMC 14.20.150E conditional use permits review criteria are met. First criteria is the use of that is to determine that the use is consistent with the purpose of this chapter as referred to above and the purposes and intent of the zoning district. Findings: the urban residential zone is intended to provide for apartments and compatible uses in areas near centers of shopping, services, and employment where high-density residential development is desirable. The proposed development would not necessarily violate the character of the neighborhood as it would provide a practical amenity for residents to store personal belongings, seasonal equipment such as fishing gear, snow machines, and household items, thereby supporting the functionality and organization of the nearby apartments, multi- and single-family dwellings. As Redoubt Avenue is considered a minor collector route and often has higher annual average daily traffic counts than the surrounding streets, and while there is no significant change in traffic anticipated, staff recommends that the entry to the property be moved to 3rd Street to forestall any possible changes or increases to traffic on Redoubt Avenue. There's adequate parking available as it is for loading and unloading only. Staff finds that the proposed use meets the intent of the urban residential zoning district. Criteria 2, the economic and non-economic value of the adjoining property and neighborhood will not be significantly impaired. Findings were: the proposed indoor heated mini storage facility will not impair the economic and non-economic value of the adjacent properties and neighborhood. As per the applicant, it will be designed to minimize disruption. Unlike outdoor storage, the facility's indoor structure eliminates visual clutter, noise, and activity that could detract from the neighborhood's rural aesthetic. Being heated ensures year-round functionality without external equipment that might disturb residents. The applicant plans to incorporate natural landscaping, setbacks, and screening, fencing, or vegetation to ensure a proper buffer. The units will generate low traffic volumes and enhance the utility of the neighborhood by providing that practical amenity, reducing the need for sprawling outbuildings that could clutter the neighborhood. At a scale of 82 units, the facility ensures it serves local demand without transforming the area into a commercial hub, preserving the residential character. Staff finds that the proposed use would not impair the economic and non-economic value of the adjacent properties and neighborhood. Criteria 3, the proposed use is in harmony with the comprehensive plan. Findings were that the land use plan from the 2016 comprehensive plan identifies the subject property with a suburban residential land use classification. The suburban residential land use classification is defined in the comprehensive plan and is intended for single-family and multifamily residential areas or residential uses that are urban or suburban in character. The area will typically be developed at a higher density, lots are typically smaller, and public water and sewer services are required or planned. Some developments may be required to construct streets to a paved standard, and large subdivisions may be required to provide sidewalks in public areas. Parks and open space land uses may be considered appropriate. The surrounding land uses consist of empty lots to the north, an empty lot in residential to the east, empty lots in a single-family dwelling to the south, and an empty lot being developed into 2 multifamily structures and apartment buildings further to the west. To the south of Redoubt Avenue is zoned recreational and rural residential. To the north, it is suburban residential, as well as surrounding the strip of 7 urban residential parcels that include 1001 3rd Avenue. As stated per the applicant in detail in the application letter, the proposed use of the property as proposed is consistent and in harmony with several goals in the 2016 comprehensive plan. Relevant goals include Goal 1, quality of life is to promote and encourage quality of life in Kenai. Objective Q2, protect and rejuvenate the livability of existing neighborhoods. Objective Q4, establish siting and design standards so that development is in harmony and scale with surrounding uses. Objective Q5, update existing site design guidelines for commercial development, landscaping, setbacks, and parking. Goal 2 is to provide economic development to support the physical health of Kenai. Objective ED2, implement business-friendly regulations, taxations, and incentives to create a stable, positive climate for private investment. Goal 3, land use is to develop land use strategies to implement a forward-looking approach to community growth and development. Objective land use 2, promote the infill of existing improved subdivision lots. Objective LU6, review zoning code to consider the use of buffers and buffer zones to separate incompatible land uses. Review landscape ordinance to ensure buffers are required to protect neighborhoods. And land use 12, ensure that the installation of basic public infrastructure, roads, sewer, water, and drainage is coordinated with the timing of development, and that improvements are in place at the time impacts occur. Criteria 4, public service and facilities are adequate to serve the proposed use. Findings that city water and sewer are available and adequate for the proposed use. Readout Avenue is a paved city maintained road. Criteria 5, the proposed use will not be harmful to the public safety, health, or welfare. Findings that there is an adequate parking and buffer for the proposed use to minimize the impact of the surrounding area. It is not anticipated that the conditional use will be harmful to the public safety, health, or welfare. As noted by the applicant, its low-impact design, minimal environmental footprint, and community-serving purpose ensures safety through reduced hazards, protected health, and no significant pollution or sanitation issues, and enhance welfare by meeting a local need without adverse impacts. Criteria 6, any and all specific conditions deemed necessary by the commission to fulfill the above-mentioned conditions. These may include, but are not limited to, measures relative to access, screening, site development, building design, operation of the use, and other similar aspects related to the proposed use. Staff finds that an indoor mini storage facility does not cause adverse impacts to the surrounding properties. Staff recommends that the entrance to the facility be constructed on 3rd Avenue instead of Redoubt to continue the current traffic patterns on Redoubt Avenue. Public notice. Pursuant to Kenai Municipal Code 14.20.280C, notices of the public hearing for the conditional use were mailed to property owners within a 300-foot periphery of the subject property. City staff published notice of the public hearing in the Peninsula Clarion. City staff submitted an affidavit of posting verifying that a sign was placed on the parcel with information of the public hearing for the conditional use permit request. As the date of this report, which again was done in April, no public comments had been received at the time of this report. Staff recommendations, staff finds that the proposed conditional use permit to develop and operate an indoor heated mini storage facility with approximately 82 units at 1001 3rd Street on the property described as Momsen Subdivision Replat, Edition Number 1 and 2, Block 12, Lot 12, Block 6, Edition Number 1, meets the criteria for issuance of a conditional use permit as set forth in subsections E1 through E6 of the Kenai Municipal Code 14.20.150, and hereby recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission adopt Resolution P02025-17, approving the conditional use permit subject to the following conditions. 1, that any development or use of the property shall comply with all applicable federal, state of Alaska, and city regulations, regardless of whether or not the requirements are listed as conditions for the approval of the conditional use permit. 2, upon request, the applicant or applicant's representative shall meet with city staff for an on-site inspection. Within the packet, we also had the aerial map, the application, an application letter, site plan, and a copy of the plat that has the subject parcel.
Thank you, Mr. Buettner. Any questions of Mr. Buettner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Gabriel. Okay, so clarification, please. In criteria 1, on page 35, it says that the zoning for the lot in question is urban residential. And then maybe I'm probably reading this wrong, but then over in criteria 3 on page 36, it says that it is suburban residential. Am I reading this wrong? So which is it?
Mr. Buettner?
Thank you, Chair. And Member Stoner, the land use and the zoning are not always 100% in sync with each other. So the zoning code the actual zoning district that it is in is urban residential. In the land use plan, paints with a big broader brush looking over the entire city. So in the land use plan, suburban residential is moderate development versus very dense development versus the more rural aesthetic that you have in the rural areas. So in our land use plan, they don't always match up, and that has kind of happened over time as different parcels have been rezoned, and due to the age of the land use plan, which is now approaching 10 years. They don't necessarily always have to match as long as the intent, because urban residential can be moderate to high density. Suburban, on the zoning code, suburban residential is low to medium development. And then the land use plan is kind of that hybrid where when we say suburban residential as a land use, not parcel by parcel, but in like more of a neighborhood scale, is looking more at that moderate, medium high, if you will, but not everyone's living right next door to each other.
Okay. And second question, if that's okay.
Yes, go ahead.
On page 35, criteria 1, the final sentence, it says staff, I'm sorry, second paragraph of the findings. As Redoubt Avenue is considered a minor collector route and often has higher annual average daily traffic counts. If you skip down to the third sentence, it says, staff recommends the entry to the property be moved to 3rd Street to forestall any possible changes. Okay, so there you're saying that your staff recommendation is to go to 3rd Street. And then over under criteria 5, okay, I read it wrong. Staff recommends the entrance to the facility be constructed on 3rd Avenue instead of Redoubt. Got it. So your recommendation is to take it off of Redoubt, the entrance.
Yes, Mr. Buhner.
The initial one was, yes, at the time of the staff report, that was our initial, and that was a typo that was corrected in the meeting. It should have been 3rd Street, not 3rd Avenue.
Okay.
On page 37. At the time of the report, that was our recommendation. During the meeting, which is in the packet, it was adjusted by the commission to bring that back to Redoubt.
All right, thank you.
Any further questions of Mr. Buhner? Member Naxton.
Thank you. Thank you for the access question too. Had the same one. I've got several questions about fencing or what your understanding is of the fencing, and it's really kind of the same question I'll have for the appellant too. What is obscuring fencing? Is there a code?
Mr. Buhner.
Thank you, Chairman Gabriel. Mr. Knack said, obscuring fencing just really means any other kind of fencing that we allow under our landscape plan. Typically, they're going to be vinyl. They could be wood slats. They could also be chain link with the vinyl slats kind of in between. But basically, anything that you're not looking directly into the property, it's supposed meant to, I guess, obscure what's going on. Commercial properties oftentimes will use more of a vinyl fence or the high wooden privacy fence, but that's what we mean. But we didn't want to limit what material they were going to use, so we just said obscuring so that it left the door open for them to choose their own material.
Okay, I assumed that's what it was, but I wasn't sure. And so the next question, and it doesn't have so much to do with your report, but maybe understanding and reading what the developer plans to do, is I do not understand what the extent of the fencing is around the property. In some places, they say they're going to go all the way around, and then on 2 sides, and one drawing, and then there's obscure fencing too. So from the planning position, what is your understanding of fencing around the facility?
Mr. Buhner.
Thank you, Chair Gabriel. Mr. Knack said they were going to fence the entire thing off. It was going to be remote access. So type in a code, you go in. So the entire facility was going to be fenced. The side obstruction, generally when you have 2 different land uses, like a commercial versus a residential, we try to make that border a little bit less obtrusive. So that's why we asked for the for the fence to kind of obstruct that view. But it would not preclude them to do, they could do all four as obstructing. They could leave the first ones where it's more like chain link and you can look into the facility from readout. We had not got to, those discussions usually occur when we get closer to the building permit stage, because when they do their site plan and landscape plan for the actual site. But I knew that fencing was going to be around all four sides of the parcel just to protect the actual units.
So just for clarity, because that was a question I had. So this will be fenced, the entire parcel. Was that the plan that was originally finalized plan before it was voted on?
Yes, yeah, the initial plan, sorry, Chair Gabriel, yes, the plan was to fence it off completely and then have a remote access gate that would be operated by people renting from the facility.
Okay, very good. Because I'd read in there, there was some talk about doing some vegetative barriers and things like that, I had questions. So thank you for that clarification. Member Nexon.
Thank you. I was going to ask some questions about buffering and vegetation, but I'm going to not talk about that. But I was curious, your recommendation was to come off of Third Street, not Readout. That was, and the planning and zoning changed that. But what was the reasoning for coming off of Third and not the main drag there?
All right, Chair Gabriel, Mr. Knack said, our thought is from a traffic safety, every time you have an access onto a different road, you actually create more potential conflict points between motorized traffic just with themselves. That area doesn't really have sidewalks, so pedestrians wouldn't be too much of a concern. But when you get to a collector or an arterial, which would be the spur, the more access points, more times that people could possibly pull out, and with its proximity to the intersection with Second and the intersection with Third right there on Readout, if we put two new driveways in there, now we have four potential, within just a few hundred feet, you have four potential areas where people could get into an accident. Since we received the plans for the neighboring multifamily, we asked them to push that access out onto Second, which they agreed to, again, reducing that possibility of having a traffic accident. Our intent was also to push this one onto Third, but was, the commission asked if it would be appropriate to push it out to Readout, which is not restricted. It was just more of us thinking for the future as Readout continues to develop, there is going to be more and more traffic as Inletwood comes up, as the KPHI developments get in. You're going to have more and more people coming in, going down Readout. We just want to avoid future issues if we can now during the planning phase.
Member Doffin?
I guess I have a question about that. So what was the reasoning that the commission would have given for not wanting to come off Third? Is it just cutting too many trees down, or what was their concern?
Through Chair Gabriel, Mr. Douthit, we wanted to reduce any further impacts because it would impacts off Third, and if having the gate, the access gate on Third, would actually be more impactful to the residents on Third. So as a way to eliminate people using Third in any way, shape, or form, the commission thought it would be more appropriate to come in off Readout, basically to eliminate impacts to Third Street in itself and to the neighbors along Third Street.
Other questions of Mr. Buhner? Oh, go ahead. A member Nexon.
Thank you. Just to kind of follow up on that, the information isn't provided on Readout what the distance between, let's say, the fog line on Readout, that shoulder, and the fences would be, for a truck pulling out, if they're going to get halfway in, or if there's lots of room or not. Do you have an approximate dimension for that?
Mr. Buhner?
I do not right here currently. Based on the design of the facility and the fact that it was going to be small individual units and not, it wasn't going to allow for larger, like boats or large trailers. We felt it would be a minimal inconvenience if someone had to get out of their truck to punch in the code and then drive on in. We're talking a minute or two, and hopefully motorists, if they are kind of out and to read out, that motorists would be, give those people a little bit of grace to get pulled into the facility once it's unlocked.
Member Dawson?
Yeah, that, along with Mr. Knack said there, that was my concern, is that, you know, you have a U-Haul pull in to unload their stuff. If they're coming off readout, as somebody who uses those roads a lot, if they're stopping to open a gate, I can definitely see why staff would recommend having a road that they could pull into, open their gate, and then pull off, so they're not stopping and blocking possibility of the roadway. As far as the effect on the residents, there's no other residents except beyond this lot, correct? There's a couple houses beyond this or lot on Third, correct?
Correct.
Reader?
Mr. Gabriel, Mr. Althea, yes. The first one is 1004 to the member of the public that just testified, and then further back along Third, which is currently at this time unimproved. It's improved for them, but it's not a city-maintained road at this time.
And one more question if I can. And this is just hypothetically, just looking, there's a lot directly on the other side of Third Avenue, just a little bit further down on Readout. Would the staff's recommendation, if they were to put a residential piece of property and just build a house on that, would their driveway be recommended to come off like you did on Second off of Third then?
We look at it case by case, depending on the size of the parcel and how the building would be laid out, what kind of development they're going to put on such a lot. Typically, if we can, we do try to put it onto a local street versus a collector. We know that's not always feasible, but where it is possible, we do or will be asking for that. Again, just more trying to plan for the future so that as it builds up, it does not become an issue.
Further questions? Member Nexon?
Thank you. I think are you the chairman or are you the president? Okay, so I've been calling you president, but maybe that's, but this is probably given the appellant some ideas of what we're all thinking as I'm asking you questions, or we're all asking. And the next one might be lighting. This facility is going to have lighting. Are these lights attached to the building only that illuminate down? I read that they're turned down lighting, but I'm not sure if they're on a pole turned down or if they're both. Can you elaborate a little bit on the lighting that you're anticipating here?
Yes. Thank you, Chair Gabriel. Mr. Neck said to our knowledge, they were either going to be on the building or pretty much adjacent to the building, depending on the structure and where they needed the lights and how the design. A lot of that would have come up during the building, when we actually go for a building permit through that process with our building official here in the city. With the discussions of the commission, it was more they just did not want a light on the side of the building that kind of just shone without any sort of glare protection or anything. These were going to be more directional towards the units themselves so that any security measures, would pick up on any activity instead of just being blinded by a large spotlight.
Further questions? I've got one here. So these would be all for just indoor storage. There wasn't any anything that I read that would allow for, storage outside the storage units. But then we talk about snowmobiles. I see most people that store their snowmobiles kind of put them on trailers next to their house. So those types of, it was the intent of when you say snow machine storage, that they would unload the snowmobile into the storage unit? Is that what I was getting on that? Just reading.
Chair Gabriel, the intent was, yes, if they had a very small, because they're going to be decent size, like an actual garage size units, you could put a very small trailer, but we're not looking at larger boats. Anything much larger than a snow machine really wouldn't fit in these as they're designed now. So it was more to be more of like, I guess, an additional closet, if you will, just storing Christmas decorations, potentially getting them out, especially as more and more apartments go in, you have less and less storage in some of these apartments. So having somewhere to put your seasonal stuff, or, you might have your dip net stuff out this time of year, put it away in the winter, get your snow machine out, kind of trade out. But that way, as the applicant was talking to us, that it was more to help give people a place to put their stuff that isn't necessarily right next to their house or in their driveway, just kind of keep it. But yes, they were all indoor units. There was no outdoor storage areas where like boats or anything else would be stored.
Yeah, the point of the question was just to clarify that there wasn't, other things being stored outside of the units, but just looking at the site plan that was included, that it looks like it's a pretty tight radius. If I'm pulling a snow machine on a trailer to even kind of back it into, you'd have to probably unhook it and then wheel it in, or that was interesting. So anyway, I think you answered my question. I did have another question that was related to access, because when I read through the packet, maybe it was me, but it was just a little unclear whether they had talked about certain hours of access, and then another portion mentioned about a key code where people could access the site almost any time. So I guess the question was, for me, was there set time for this to be operational for people to access, or would it be at all hours, Mr. Buettner?
It's supposed to be during certain hours, so even if you do have a code so that no one is on site, they would only work during certain hours, and it was ultimately going to be 7 to 7 is what the commission pulled out. The applicant had put it in their larger application. It got pulled and specified into the resolution as amended in front of the commission.
All right, any further questions of our city planner, Mr. Buettner? Well, we'll get another bite at the apple here in a minute with you, so appreciate you. Stand by, and with that, we'll go to the appellant, Mr. Jeremy Bird. You have 30 minutes for presentation of your case.
Awesome. Well, thank you, guys. Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and esteemed members of the Board of Adjustment. Like I said earlier, my name is Jeremy Bird. I'm the president of Cornerstone Developments of Alaska. And we're profoundly grateful for the opportunity to present our appeal of the Kenai Planning and Zoning Commission denial dated May 14th, 2025 for our conditional use permit for an 82-unit indoor heated storage mini facility located at 1001 3rd Street in Kenai. This project provides secure climate-controlled storage for, like you guys talked about, for residents, for fishing gear, snow machines, kayaks, household items, enhancing Kenai's quality of life while preserving the rural aesthetic of the urban residential code. And to clarify, I know you guys talked about just a little bit ago, there's no outdoor storage allowed. We don't want any type of clutter whatsoever. So I just wanted to clarify that there's no outdoor storage. Our 45-page appeal was submitted on May 19th, 2025. We feel demonstrates the denial was arbitrary, lacked substantial evidence, and misapplied KMC 14.20.150, failing to adhere to the code's objective standards. Pursuant to code, I will summarize each section of our appeal, and using the transcript data from that night, and apply new evidence, the community need, the economic impact, and the safety measures, and respectfully ask that you reverse this denial and approve our conditional use permit or remand it for reconsideration. I have sent you guys a 45-page appeal that I believe is provided to you guys, and I just want to kind of outline the fundamental errors from that meeting. The city's planning staff conducted a rigorous review and recommended approval, finding the facility meets all 6 of KMC's criteria. It aligns with the RU zone's high-density residential purpose, protects property values, supports the 2016 comprehensive plan goals for livability and infill development, is served by adequate public services like roads and utilities, poses no risk to safety or welfare, and requires minimal conditions. I know that we've kind of went back and forth on the 3rd Street or the readout entrance. Personally, we like the readout entrance. I think it just works better, and not having 3rd Street be the entrance, but again, we're flexible. The staff described it as a practical amenity, ideally situated for its location, enabling residents to store items without disrupting the neighborhood's character. There was Commissioners Kraus, Fikes, and Woodward. They voted no in a 3-3 tie. And in our opinion, they ignored the analysis and offered no evidence to contradict it. Our appeal states that the commission's denial was subjective, arbitrary, and lacked substantial evidence and misapplied the code. The first ground for appeal is the denial's arbitrary nature, vividly exposed by multiple instances of subjectivity in the May 14th transcript. Commissioner Kraus talked about, she speculated from mud bogging, and I quote, on 3rd Street, from 60 renters with 24/7, 7-day-a-week access, falsely assumed that constant heavy traffic, despite our original application, had clear instructions that talked about a 7 a.m. to a 7 p.m. operating hours, indoor storage only, no large vehicles, a key code gated access with lockout, so they couldn't just come in there at any time of the day. It would only be for those operating hours. She claimed that the facility would overwhelm the neighborhood's quiet character, but offered no data to support this. It was a personal opinion. I don't believe that she knows the site. I don't believe she had gone there. There's residential properties, all the multifamily residential properties, all the way down Redoubt and the surrounding areas of this. This isn't back off some rural road that you're going to have, tons of traffic passing by single family homes. Commissioner Fikes, time code 5850, dismissed the facility as huge and enormous structure, unfit for the RU zone, and provided no evidence of visual or functional impact, despite the staff's findings that the traffic impacts would be minimal. She also speculated that the facility would set precedent for trailers clogging the streets, and again, ignoring the staff's confirmation of the zoning compatibility. Commissioner Woodward, at 1 hour and 54 seconds, provided no reasoning, just simply voted no, without engaging with any type of evidence or criteria, and a clear failure, in my opinion, to meet the KMC's requirement for reasoned decisions. We had public testimony. There was concerns about homelessness, open doors to opening, making this just a business hub, which is not the case. That's a speculative assumption, and it was addressed by the staff report. Mr. Butner clarified that the CUP does not rezone the property, and in future use would require a separate permit, rendering her concern speculative. The second ground is the commission's misapplication of the zoning code as evidenced by further subjective comments in the transcript. Commissioner Fees from time code 5850 to 5857 argued that we need more housing, not storage, incorrectly classifying our facility as commercial and dismissing its residential utility. Commissioner Kraus, again, echoed this by stating that the RU zone should be for homes only, prioritizing housing without evidence, despite the staff's affirmation that the facility supports the RU zone's residential character. We own the lot adjacent to this on 2nd and Redoubt, and we have permits and everything. We just broke ground to develop an 8-unit apartment complex or an 8-unit multifamily housing development. And it's directly addressing Kenai's housing needs. And in our opinion, the storage is complementing that supportive role. Our appeal asserts the commission's misinterpretation of a facility as a commercial hub ignores KMC's flexibility for community serving uses. This error undermines the denial's viability and compels the board to approve our conditional use to uphold the code's intent. The third ground is the commission's failure to consider our mitigations, as the transcript reveals no meaningful discussion of our solutions despite their inclusion in our original application. From 3532 to 5646 of the transcript, the commission approved a 6-foot side obscuring fence along 3rd Street and 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. operating hours to address the visibility and traffic concerns And yet they ignored, it seems like they ignored those additional recommendations. Two, I know you guys talked about earlier, the fencing. So again, this is obviously has to go through the planning phase and everything, but our updated plan, and it should be in our application, is to have 10-foot setbacks with trees. We're going to keep all the perimeter trees. We'd have privacy slat fencing going down 3rd Avenue. A 6-foot, let me clarify, 6-foot privacy slat fencing going all the way down 3rd, all the way along the backside of the property, and all the way down our own adjoining lot. The only thing that would be open with a 6-foot chain link fence would be Redoubt Avenue. Everything else would be privacy slatted and 6-foot tall chain link fence. Again, if that needs to change a little bit, we're flexible. But we've also included, to go to the lighting situation, we've included 12 to 16 downward facing, they'd be motion activated LED lights attached to the buildings. We're not going to do poles if we don't need to. We're going to have it just attached to the buildings and shooting down each one of those driveways. Each producing roughly 1,200 to 1,800 lumens. We have in plans to have a security system to make sure that we want to make this secure for the people's belongings and secure for the neighborhood. We don't want any type of security breaches, obviously. Commissioner Fees at 3231 was worried about excessive lighting, but offered no evidence to challenge our low impact design. We also committed at that time to do a 10-foot wide, again, native spruce and shrub bufferings along 3rd Street and the adjacent lots. Our appeal argues that KMC 14.20.150 allows conditions to ensure compatibility, but the no voters disregarded the solution, and in our opinion, is a procedural error. The failure to engage with our tailored mitigations necessitates the CUP approval to correct this oversight. Our new evidence, I think obviously that's provided in the packet, provides compliance with all the KMC standards. We also included a traffic study based upon the Institute of Transportation Engineer standards, showing the facility generates roughly 33 to 66 daily vehicle trips, fewer than or equal to the 50 to 64 trips from our planned 8-unit apartments. With Redoubt access eliminating any impact on 3rd Street, fully addressing the no voter speculation, and as well as the neighbors. And again, we're flexible if that entrance needs to change to 3rd. Again, I prefer it to be on Redoubt, but we're not set in stone on that. We've also included in this packet our lighting analysis, which confirms that 12 to 16 motion activated LEDs produced between 14,000 and 28,000 lumens, significantly less intrusive than our apartments, which we estimate at 20 to 36,000 lumens, between the floodlights and 8 to 12 lit windows, addressing the neighbors' glare concerns. As mentioned before, the updated site plan for a 28,314 square foot lot features 3 single-story buildings totaling 12,300 square feet with muted metal siding in charcoal gray. Nothing, no bold colors or anything like that. We wanted to have it be muted and blend in. Again, we talked about the 6-foot chain link fence all the way around. If you guys have any questions on that, obviously, I'm more than happy to answer that. The community needs section highlights the facility's critical role for Kenai residents. Year-round homeowners, seasonal fishermen, and seniors require climate-controlled storage for snow machines, kayaks, fishing gear, household items to maintain tidy properties, reducing reliance on sheds or garages that disrupt the neighborhood's rural aesthetic. A 2023 Kenai survey showed that 68% of residents want better storage options, reflecting a clear unmet demand. The facility's low-impact design, indoor storage, Redoubt access, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. hours, and extensive landscaping supports the 2016 comprehensive plan goal and objectives 1 through 6. Our adjacent 8-unit apartment project addresses the housing needs, countering the no voter subjective housing prioritization that they talked about. and it creates a balanced development that serves Kenai's diverse community. Again, our economic impact analysis has shown that the industry data for the Appraisal Institute in 2023 shows indoor storage facilities in residential zones, such as those in Anchorage and Soldotna, have a neutral or slightly positive 1 to 2% effect on nearby property values due to their utility as a community amenity. Unlike retail or industrial uses, the facility generates minimal traffic, noise, and visual disruption and enhances the neighborhood appeal. By centralizing storage, it reduces the need for on-site sheds or garages, preserving the clean rural look that residents value, directly supporting the RU zone's purpose and addressing. Safety measures to ensure that the facility poses no harm to the public, meeting all the KMC criteria. Our appeal concludes, all concerns, in our opinion, are resolved, leaving no justification for denial. These comprehensive solutions leave no doubt this project is right for Kenai. Honorable Chair and board members, our appeal in the May 14th transcript exposed a denial riddled in subjectivity, speculation, while ignoring the staff's evidence-based findings. Public concerns, although heartfelt, were speculative and fully addressed by our mitigations. Our appeal states that the Commission's failure to adhere to KMC criteria, coupled with our evidence of compliance, mandates reversal. Our traffic and lighting, site plan, economic and safety evidence demonstrates minimal impacts and full compliance with KMC 14.20.150, as affirmed by the staff's thorough analysis. This facility will transform the Kenai for the better, providing essential storage, preserving the rural aesthetic, boosting property values, supporting the comprehensive plan's vision for a thriving, livable community. We respectfully urge you to reverse the unjust denial and grant our conditional use or remand it for consideration with our evidence. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration, and we're prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Is there any question for Mr. Byrd from the body? Member Nexon.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Byrd, thank you very much. You clarified a few of my questions that I've had. I just wanted to, do you have an idea from the edge of readout to the fence line where a vehicle would pull up, what that space would be, the length?
It's roughly, I would say 40 to 45 feet.
Okay, thank you. I do have another couple of questions. You cited the Appraisal Institute 2023 report or something like that. I think that's not something that's available to me. Could you had a lot of their data regarding the property values and whatnot, but could you kind of elaborate on what that the Appraisal Institute is and the data that you found?
I don't have that information in front of me. I apologize. Let me just hang tight here. Is that something I can come back to you on? I don't have it in front of me. I apologize.
Well, if the question's for me, I was just kind of curious more about it since I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
I'm taken because the data isn't included in your argument. I'm taking your word, which I'm sure but I don't have that. So that's the reason for the question. It's just trying to substantiate it a little more. So.
Gotcha. Let me. I have it. I apologize. I'm on the road right now, and so that's why I'm not trying to find the information that I need here. Can I come? Like I said, let me come back to you on that one.
Do you have further follow-up, Mr. Board Member Nexon?
I do not.
Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Byrd? Board Member Cassina.
Thank you. This is mainly just a question for the crowd, I suppose. It mentioned several times that this is an indoor storage facility, and it took looking at the drawings for me to wrap my head around that the storage units are, the items you would store are indoors. The units themselves are not necessarily indoors. And I just wanted to clarify and confirm that these are in fact storage units that are outside and the doors face outside. Is that fair to say, Mr. Byrd?
The doors do face outside, but the building doors themselves would face inwards towards the facility. So like, if you're driving down 3rd Street, you're not going to see doors because the doors would be facing the other way.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Board Member Askin.
Thank you. What is the approximate size of each unit?
8 by 15.
Thank you.
Further questions? I did have one, just looking at the site plan that you have with the proposed number of units there. Is there, and you have areas for, snow storage. Is there any sort of like an engineer's standard that you look at when you determine how much for the size of the lot that you would need to allow for that snow storage? I'm just, as if we had a heavy snowfall, it looks like it'd be kind of tight in there to get to store the snow and then also get people in and out of their units, so.
Yeah, so this was done up with our drafter. I'm not a drafter. We were going off of her recommendations and what she allotted for the storage. Again, if we need to modify this and if we had to shrink this down, like I know if you look on the map, on the site plan, there's building number 1. If we had to shrink that down a little bit, if we needed to get more snow storage in there, like, again, we're flexible to do so. We were just going off of what the drafter had proposed for spacing.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not an engineer. I just was wondering if there was any design standards that, that were sort of implemented to figure that out. Thank you. Board Member Dawson.
Just to kind of follow up on that, I know when we were working on our property, it's so hard for design to say that it's going to be a good year or bad year and how much snow. So they usually anticipate a certain amount, and then they just told us that, you might have to pay for a snow haul off if it gets to a certain point, which companies do.
Yeah,
That was
correct.
brought up when we did it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what I've heard. Oh,
And
sorry.
we have residential properties as well. And in years past, if we needed to do that, we would just, like he just said, we would just haul it off if really we needed to. Correct.
Yeah, I imagine that would be next steps.
Yeah.
With that, so. Councilmember Askin?
Okay,
Or
thank you.
Board Member Askin, sorry.
So I'm looking at the diagram, and at the end, you've got these little Bs. What are those, smaller units, or? Because D is all the ones, and then A is the. It's
Yeah,
on
so
page
the
107.
107. So yes, at the very ends of each building would just be like a 4x8 size closet. One of those would be for utilities because of it being heated. We need to have boiler and utility access. And then at the very ends would just be smaller 4x8 single door units. Correct.
Thank you.
Board Member Sonar?
Thank you, Chair Gabriel. So you have quite a bit of comparison between 8-unit apartments and the 82-unit storage facility. I believe somewhere in this packet, I read that you also have plans to build an 8-unit apartment with the access being off of 2nd Street. Is that correct?
Yes, that's actually already been approved and we've already broken ground. So that access is on 2nd currently. That's the next lot over. So if you look on the plat, the lot to the left of this on the corner of Redoubt and 2nd has already been approved and building permits issued for 8 units with the access on 2nd.
Okay, and then just one follow-up question. How many 8-unit apartments are you building?
That on that particular lot, it's just 8 units.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions of Mr. Byrd? Board Member Naxton.
Thank you, Chair. Since the question was coming up on snow storage, and that is something shown, but what was discussed in the documentation had to do with drainage. And I realize that when you get into plan review here, the drainage plan will be likely required. And linear projects like this with lots of roof space that go into basically a swale, I think was described. Water's got to go someplace. Have you considered where the water is going to go, the storm water, the spring runoff, and all of, all of that?
Not 100%. I know that we would do swales and I know we would do gutters for sure to control that. Do I know exactly where it would be at 100%? I do not. I would assume it's going to go towards readout, but again, I don't want to, I would just rely upon what the planning and engineering has to say about that before I just speculate.
Further questions of Mr. Byrd? Seeing no further questions from the body, we'll go to our item I here, if you're following along with our appellee, which is our City Planning and Zoning Department. Is there anything else that the city would like to add, Mr. Buettner?
Thank you, Chairman Gabriel. Just got some clarification from our plat that readout is 100-foot right-of-way. The paved surface is approximately 36 feet, and there's approximately 32 feet from the paved surface to the property line at this parcel.
Very good. Any questions? Thank you for that additional information. Board Member Sonard.
Thank you, Mayor Gabriel. So on page 109, we've been given this chart, and I'm just wondering, does the color indicate codes, zones?
Yes, through Chair Gabriel. Mr. Darn, yes, the purple is urban residential, blue is suburban residential, and green is rural residential. Red is recreation, but that also does include the former landfill.
Thank you.
Any further questions of the city planner? With that, we will go to our next item, which is appellant rebuttal. Is there anything, I don't think there was really much presented to rebut, but you're welcome to, the floor is yours for rebuttal, Mr. Byrd.
I don't really have anything at this time. I guess the only thing I would say is if it's 30, he just said it's 35 feet to the property line. So plus the setback, so you're looking at 35, 40. Yeah, you're almost like, I just wanted to clarify, you're probably almost 50 feet to the fence from readout, just to give you an idea. But I have nothing further.
Mr. Byrd, you had mentioned getting back to with the Appraisal Institute information, and we could go into adjudicative session immediately following this hearing. So there's just to let you know, there's really not much of a window for you to do that, unless you had some way to transmit it, I guess, to our clerk.
I don't have it at this time. I apologize.
Okay, very good. We have in here item K, which would be a rebuttal from our city planner. Do you anticipate a rebuttal from anything? See, just so for the record, Mr. Buettner's saying no.
Chairman Gabriel, we have no rebuttal.
Okay, very good. That moves us to closing arguments. You have 5 minutes, Mr. Byrd, for a closing statement or argument. Thank you.
Thank you. Give me 1 second here. It's pretty simple. I mean, I feel like we've gone over everything pretty well. I just want to say the conclusion and request for relief. The supplemental evidence addresses, I feel like, all the concerns for the May 14th, 2025 hearing, including all the economic analysis as far as the crime data, the community need. I feel like we've covered all the enhanced site plans. Hopefully that clarifies any, as far as all the mitigations go. We respectfully request the Board of Adjustment to reverse denial and approve the CUP or remand for reconsideration as per the evidence per KMC 14.20.90. The project aligns with the RU zone intent and the 2016 comprehensive plan, offering a low impact community serving amenity. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Appreciate your time here today. Next up, we have our city planner. Do you wish to make a closing statement, Mr. Buter?
Thank you, Chairman Gabriel, members of the board. Thank you for letting us present our report and any additional information you were seeking from us. We still stand. I stand by my findings in the initial report, and would welcome any consideration that you have on through the process to look through everything that's been presented and make the correct decision.
Very good. Thank you. That brings us to deliberations. A motion to adjourn into adjudicatory session is in order. Pleasure, council. Member Naxton.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the Board of Adjustment move into adjudicative session. Request unanimous consent.
Second.
Discussion on the motion. Unanimous consent was requested. Is there any objection? Seeing none, we'll move into adjudicatory session. Now, I'd like to let both parties know that we will be, the board will have 30 days to provide a decision. Any questions regarding that, Mr. Byrd?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.